is season 5 of Whatever She's Having with Linda Hoffner. This season, my bestie and co-host Claire Sumadewiria is taking a little break to focus on her campaign for Bellevue City Council. So I'll be inviting special guests to the pod to talk about being fearless, showing up for ourselves, and being a champion for other women's success. This podcast is proudly presented by 425 Magazine, our amazing podcast partner who continues to support our platform of celebrating empowering friendships. In the studio with me today is our very own production host, Norris Frederick. We are sitting in the studio of the Frederick Collection, which has become our podcast home for the last 2 seasons. Norris has been a collegiate and professional long jumper, earning himself the title of NCAA All American 11 times, conference champion 5 times at the University of Washington, go Dogs, and earning the Indoor U.S. bronze medal 3 times as a member of Team USA. These days, you can find Norris behind the camera as a professional photographer and videographer, in front of the camera as an influencer and podcast host and model, I would say, and on stages around the country as a motivational speaker. I am in awe of what he has accomplished in his second chapter of greatness. Welcome, Norris. I think it's about time we finally had you on the show.
I know. I prayed for a day like this.
Oh, stop.
Fingers were crossed, everything, the stars aligned, and we're here now.
You know, I'm just super grateful for your continued support of our show, for Claire and I, for inviting us into this beautiful home of yours, your studio home, and really helping us make our vision come true. You and Marnie have been an incredible production team for us, and I'm just so grateful to have you here to learn from you. You've taught us so many tips and tricks along the way from your own podcast experience, and it's just been a dream to work with you guys.
Well, that's so awesome. I think when you see somebody working hard and putting their best foot forward and wanting to live out their dream, it's hard not to join and want to help out. So you guys are inspiring, it's contagious, and it's an honor every single month.
Thank you.
Always.
So I want to kind of talk about how this special place came to be. We're surrounded by incredible art that you have taken. Why a studio? How did this come to be?
Great question. The easy answer is why not? The more complex answer is I come from a rougher background, and I think I never got to see things like this. I was never invited into places like this. And there was one day I was in Vegas doing something with the airline, and I stumbled in a gallery, and I had never seen photography like that in my life. And I asked myself, and I said, well, what makes him able to do it and me not? Then I had Marnie come down the following month to share the same experience. And we were both like in awe, but both were like, I think we can do this. So, that just started the journey right there.
Had you played around with photography before that? I mean, what was the draw to, other than appreciating other people's art, was photography something that you experimented with as a kid or anything?
Oh, no, never. I never really understood photography. I never really understood art. I could identify that something was pretty, but I couldn't identify the complexity behind it. It wasn't until my athletic career when I ended up getting injured and I wanted to film my comeback. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love with videography, and I didn't pick up photography. I picked up photography like 4 years ago. So it's wow. Like fairly recent. But it just allows me to express myself without really having to say much.
Do you think, because there's now been several former professional athletes who have picked up a camera and really gone behind the scenes taking photography, is there something to that, this idea of being in front of the camera for so much of your career as people are taking photos of you or videoing your greatness on the track and field or on the football field for others or baseball field. I think of Randy Johnson and Marshawn Lynch and Ken Griffey, who have all really turned to finding this other expression of art. Do you think there's something to that in terms of kind of that trend?
Oh, that's an awesome question. And I've actually thought about that a lot. I think for me, in my experience, it's quiet, right? Like there's something about, waking up super early in the morning or being out late at night or just being in a space, having to be patient, having to be quiet and sitting with your own thoughts. And I feel that athletics, they're so chaotic. None of it's in your control. And this is one thing that can bring you some type of peace. And, it's inspiring when you like look on TV and you see other athletes or other teammates or people that you've rubbed shoulders with, and they're doing the exact same thing. And like when you have these conversations with these athletes and they're like, it's just my happy place. It speaks to you.
I really like what you said about the quiet and the stillness. So much of our lives is go, go, go. And I can only imagine as a professional athlete, that is the epitome of your life.
Right.
And being at the next place and performing at peak levels and having all eyes on you. That being able to actually pause and see the world where you were kind of just a passerby maybe before is something new and refreshing to your eyes.
As a professional athlete, in 2016 alone, I probably went to like 34 to 40 different countries in just that year. And the focus was just winning track meets. It was never to understand the culture or to try new foods or to see the landscape. It was just to go.
You were there to do a job.
And that was it. So, as an adult now, in this second part, career that I got going on, like, I can take the time to see that. And I can take the time to understand, like, the beauty of things. And I feel like with art, let me back up. There was one time I was coming home from Italy, or excuse me, I was coming home from Europe. And we were flying over Greenland. And the captain of the plane, the pilot, said, if you look out the window, you can see that Greenland's frozen over. And I remember looking out the window because I had been going back and forth to Europe like, it was just a ton. I looked out the window and I was going to grab my phone and take a photo, but I was like, I'll see that another day. Because I was so numb, to the travel. And then now, right, like, it's hard for me to go to the grocery store without bringing a camera. So it's completely consumed me, which is different.
Yeah. And what, a lot of what is here in the gallery are, scenery and landscape and the topography of the world. Is that your primary love for photography, or have you experimented with various kinds of photography? Kind of what speaks to you about landscape?
The thing that speaks to me about landscape is nothing is in your control, right? You're chasing shadows and sun rays and sunlights and things moving behind buildings, which are all controlled by light. So, there's a lot of strategery that goes around that. It's interesting. I was just talking to Marnie about this not too long ago. And it's like, you take a few photos of landscape and then people categorize you. You take a few photos of wildlife and then they categorize you. And it's hard to get out of that mold. So what I've been trying to focus on is being able to diversify my portfolio, whether it's with people, just whatever the circumstance may be. The best part of this is I can make it as hard as I want it to be. I can make it as complicated as I want, or I can make it as simple as I want. It's not hard to shoot things that are in controlled light. Like if I brought a flower into the studio and set up lights, I'm in control of everything.
Yeah.
But if I'm out in nature and it's golden hour, I know I got about 7 minutes before the sun drops and things start looking a little different. So um, just understanding the things that you're in control of versus the things that you aren't.
That's an interesting like space to be in, right? Like um, getting comfortable with not being in control is something very hard for most of us, me in particular. So I think that really resonates with me in terms of um, I can only imagine it's a trial and error process, right? Of learning what is your window for light. How much time are you going to have to shoot that sunset before you've lost the perfect pink?
Mm-hmm.
And that takes patience,
Right.
right? And most of us aren't patient.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because you look on your weather app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sunsets at 6:45. So you're
And it lies
and it
a
lies,
lot.
right? So you get there at like 6:40, thinking like, oh, this is gonna be the moment. And then you miss the moment. The moment's already gone. So there's a photo. I was down in San Diego, and there's this shot under the Scripps Pier that
I know exactly what shot you're talking about,
right.
and I love this picture.
Yes, and it's called Magic Under the Pier.
Yeah.
That's what the artist called for us. And we knew that sunset was at 7:45. We knew it. And we got there at 4:30 just to make sure that there were going to be no mistakes because we had one chance to get this. And what I mean by that, I mean, we literally booked those flights specifically for that day to get this shot, and we were leaving the following day. So there was options to obviously to extend flights, but I think as a professional athlete, like when the pressure's on, that's where I show up the best.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I was in control of was making sure that the gear was charged, making sure that we had the optimal angle to shoot, and making sure that if we needed to go to the bathroom or grab a bite to eat or just take a second, all this had to happen before 7:45. Yeah. So it's like moments like that, like those really speak to me and speak to the strength of what this gallery represents.
Yeah, I love that. I want to find out more from you about this transition from professional athlete to photographer. That's a hard transition when you focus so much of your life on one thing and one skill set that you have or one strength that you have. What was the hardest part for you when you realized, was it your injury that then led to your retirement, or how did that play out, and what influenced that transition?
Injury brought things to perspective. It reiterated that nothing is forever. Like, I'm not going to be a professional athlete forever. So it forced me to pick up a camera and start documenting this recovery. And I quickly realized that that was something that I was fully in control of. I can make it look like these physical therapy sessions were the hardest thing in the world through video, because I can manipulate. Or I can make it look like it was a walk in a park and I'm killing it. I could do whatever it was that I wanted. But and then night would fall, and there were no cameras, there were no lights. It was me sitting in my bedroom, going through all these things in my life that had gotten me to that point, and thinking to myself, like, this is all over. Like, this moment is gone, right? Like, nobody's gonna know who I am. No one's gonna care. They're gonna forget about me. And then I would post a photo on Instagram, and then all of a sudden these likes and these followers and all these things would start popping up, and it would re-energize me. Then I go back to, physical therapy, and I would try to go just a tiny bit harder. It wasn't until 2017, I had missed the 2016 team. And I wasn't
because of the injury?
there were a ton of factors. I think the biggest one was I've fallen out of love with the sport. And I wasn't doing it because I wanted to. I was doing it because I had made prior commitments and promises to people. I was sitting in Greece preparing for a track meet, and I'm standing on the runway, and I thought to myself, I'm going to try feta cheese tonight. And at that point, I was like, hang them up.
Yeah.
Hang them up. Because what's going to happen is whatever legacy that you're leaving behind, you don't want to be that guy that was out of his prime and couldn't beat a high school kid in the track meet. So I started the transition period where I had to come to peace that this portion and sector of my life is near the end. And every single track meet, like, you don't have to leave it all on the field. Don't be last, but like, enjoy it. Enjoy seeing these parts of the world that you can hardly pronounce, number one.
Yeah.
Number two, that, when you're walking through an airport and you're at like an international terminal and you're like, whoa, where is that?
Yeah.
Those were the places I was at. And I would go there and then I would actually try the food. I would try their native food. I would talk to the natives. I would get up and walk around the hotel and walk around the compound, see the city, and shake hands and meet people. And then track and field became secondary. I remember I got booked. I got invited to go to the Bermuda Invitational track meet. And in my head, I knew it was my last meet. To the point where I packed everything but my uniform to go to this meet. And I was going to take the fine from ASICS and just be okay with whatever that fine was going to be to compete in a non-uniform. And I got to Bermuda and I was thinking to myself, like, when would I ever come to a beautiful place like this? I had only heard of the Bermuda Triangle. I had never heard of the actual country itself. And I'm here now. And I remember I told my agent that I was hurt in order to make it so I didn't get a fine. I'm about to get in trouble, but it's all good.
The real is coming out now.
And it just got to the point where I watched the men's long jump as a spectator and not as a competitor. And I didn't feel anything. I was more interested in meeting the reps from Oakley and the reps from all these other companies there that were at this meet, because I wanted to start building an identity outside of sport. And it happened.
What does that do for your mental game? I talked about this with Gerald Smiley, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and as a former athlete himself, the mental component of what it takes to transition out of that can either eat you alive or fuel you in another direction. And I'm curious, how was there a battle playing in your head at the same time?
It was deafening. Coming back from an injury was one of the hardest things that I did in my entire career, in my entire life. But losing a piece of your identity and what made you you was something that haunts me still to this day. When you wake up in the morning at 4:45 or 5 o'clock with no alarm clock because that's been your training program for 13 years as a professional athlete, and you don't understand why the rest of the world isn't up. Or when you're on a work event.
I mean, I'm up. You can call me.
I can call you.
Yeah,
okay, got it.
I'm
You
up.
guys heard that.
I got you. Got you.
Or when you're like doing things at work and you don't realize that it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and you haven't eaten anything because you're just in go mode. Like, one thing as a professional athlete, when you're in these crowded stadiums, so like in 2012, I was at the games, and the only thing I could hear was my coach. I couldn't hear all the fans in the stadium. I couldn't hear the
You
roaring.
tune it all out.
You tune it all out, and I can hear him. That was it. Specifically, his voice reiterating what it is that I needed to do from across the track. So it's the same when I walk into a work environment or at an event or whatever the circumstance is. If I'm told that this needs to get done, or I want it to look like this, or we need to do this, I'm just solely focused on that. And it's hard to snap out because you quickly realize that most of the people standing next to you, they don't operate like that. And you look aggressive, you look selfish, you look tone deaf, you look all these different things. But the bottom line is you have people that are counting on you because they asked you to do something. And for the past 13 years as a professional athlete, I was always told what it was that I had to do, when I had to do it, and how quickly it needed to be done. So,
Do emotions get stunted because of that?
for sure. I was with this woman all through college, and then a year, my rookie season. And I ended up moving to San Diego. I wanted to train with the Olympic team at the Olympic Training Center in San Diego. And we were just going through these ups and downs. And it's like 5 years, and she called me one night and said, "This is over." And I just said, "I understand," and I hung up. I didn't feel anything until season was over. And I didn't understand what these feelings were. And I just would walk around the track until like things stopped hurting. But crying wasn't something that was familiar to me.
Yeah.
It was just like, how do you process this? I understand that I'm hurting right now, but I can't pinpoint why. So that was always something that was at the forefront. And even now to this day, like, if I'm challenged to something athletically, there is not one thing that I wouldn't do to win.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if you're a grown adult or a little kid, like that switch is turned on and we're going for it. And I've tried my best to be conscious, especially with like these like celebrity events and then things that I'm doing with like kids in the community, that like, this isn't a competition. Like, this is supposed to be fun. And then I can talk myself off that ledge.
Yeah.
But it's a challenge.
It is, and it's amazing. You talk about this kind of robotic process of just, you get up, you know what you're supposed to do, you execute, and you push for 1% better. And even outside of professional athletes, we can get caught in that, right? I'm by no means am I a professional athlete, but I have trained myself to be almost robotic in my regiment, right? And it's for the sake of, it's very hard once you stop doing something, or it's very easy to stop doing something and then almost incredibly difficult to start up again, right? So I've now built this thing in my head of like, well, just don't stop. You're going to get up and work out every day, or you're going to run, or you're going to do this, right? And my husband recently was like, well, you're just a robot, Linda. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, you're just so regimented in everything. And while that can be a very positive skill to have, and it keeps us motivated, and for those of us who are highly self-competitive, that's me. I don't tend to compete against others, but I'm highly self-competitive. What it manifests itself to others is robotic. And this lack of connection or ability to be relatable.
Yep.
And I liken that to what professional athletes are probably go through a similar deal where you're, as a professional athlete, you're almost untouchable already, right? And then when you're coming out of that, like, how do you maintain that balance so that you can be relatable, so that you can have relationships, and that you can feel those emotions? And I almost see that that's what you've done with your photography, is you're letting out these emotions in this very beautiful, artistic, creative way.
I appreciate that. And it's good that somebody sees it like that. Because at times I've even struggled to see it like that. When you have those days, and especially you with like all the fitness things that you have going on, where things just aren't clicking.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
It's hard. And people are telling you all these great things about you. And you're like, no, but you don't understand. Today was horrible. And they're like, but you do this all the time. You can't be focused on one day. But the fact of the matter is, for people that are highly competitive, especially with themselves, that one day outshines all the others for that specific time. And when you do have those great days, it's like, those are what are expected. So like, I'm not going to celebrate those because there's still more work to do. I had a very interesting conversation with my coach one year. We were sitting on the grass, just gotten done with a workout. And I said, Coach, what else do you need me to do? And he said, what are you talking about? He said, and I said, what else can I do to be great? Linda, I was the #1 long jumper in the world. And he looked me in my face and said, you should go eat lunch. And it took a second for that to register, because like when you tell somebody like, oh, I'm the best athlete in my event in the entire world, in this Milky Way.
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, that's amazing. And you're like, no, there's still work to get done.
I can be better.
I can be better. So what do, right? I asked my coach to switch my rooming assignment. And he said, to who? And I said, Gerard Tobler. Gerard Tobler was the #2 long jumper in the world. So we were roommates. I could reach out and I can touch him and grab his hand at night. We shared the same room. And every time he woke up, I woke up. Anytime he grabbed a snack, I grabbed a snack. Anytime he wanted to go get some extra reps in, hey, I'm your shadow. You're not going to pass me. And what happens is you build this like callus that you think that everybody thinks that you got that target on your back. So you're walking around trying to be the best at everything. So to the question you asked me last, relationships fall apart, friendships fall apart. I used to meet people, and as an athlete, I probably had the lowest self-esteem in my entire life as a professional athlete.
That's a fascinating thing just to sit on for a minute. Yeah.
The lowest self-esteem that I had ever had in my entire life was me being a professional athlete. And you would find these people that would come into your life and think it's their job, knowing who you are and what it is that you've accomplished, to humble you. They would say things like, oh, you just want me to be a yes person. And I'm like, I've been searching for a yes person because I don't have that within myself. I need someone to remind me daily that I'm great, or to remind me, you got this. Every day I would wake up and I would write on the mirror, you're a champion. You got this. I would have to have these self-talks because I was getting it from nowhere else.
Because people assumed you knew?
People assumed that I had everything together.
Yeah.
And they thought just because I wear this title as a professional athlete that my feelings are invincible. I get it. You wouldn't want to compete against me. I get that. But I have no one to talk to and no one to relate to. Who are you going to talk to when you become the #1 long jumper in the world and then the #2 long jumper in the world? What am I going to talk to my roommate? Like, oh God, like, oh, the worst thing in the world happened. You beat me.
Yeah.
So like, there's no one to talk to. But when you walk up to somebody and you're like, my world ranking dropped. And they're first like, what do you mean world ranking? And you're like, well, I was this and now I'm that. And they're like,
Get a grip.
Get a grip. Be grateful is what they used to say.
Yeah.
Just be grateful. And I'd be like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
So
And they didn't, right?
No.
They didn't have
And
any
I
idea.
couldn't blame them. And I couldn't blame them for it. But it just got to the point where you're walking around trying to hide yourself in plain sight because you don't want to have these conversations with people. You don't have the answers.
So this is a perfect segue into your new venture with this men's circle.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about how this came to be, what it is, and what it's meant to your healing journey.
Not too long ago, I was in a rut. And I was having this feeling that I'm walking this world alone. And I had a buddy come to the gallery. And we sat down and we talked for a bit. And he had similar issues where he felt that he didn't have anybody to talk to. So I spoke with Marnie for a bit and said, what if one day a month I invited a select group of people to come in here and talk about men's issues? And, Marnie is a great supporter, so she's like, yeah, you should do it. And then the internal confidence kicked in. What if nobody shows up? Mm-hmm. What if I'm the only person in the world going through this stuff? So I put it on social media, and discreetly, these people were starting to RSVP. So now it's real.
Now you have to do it.
Now I got to do it. It's no longer a dream or just like a goal. Like it has to happen now. So September rolls around, and this room fills up. And at first, Lynn, I'm just going to be honest with you. I thought we were going to come in here and bash our significant others.
No, women do that.
Right. But like in my head, like,
yeah. You're like, I don't know what we're doing.
I don't know what we're doing. And there's like 30 men in this room, and it's time to just talk about women and how they've all screwed us and hurt us and made us feel insecure and inferior. That subject never came. And you realize that men are fighting their inner demons, trying to show up for other people. And then that day I was seen. I felt seen and I felt heard. And all these men, 29 other people in this room, we bonded. And with men, it's funny because, when you have a significant other and that significant other has a best friend and that best friend, has a boyfriend, like women are like,
why can't you just be best friends?
Yeah. Not realizing like other men can see a shitty man and be like, you should stay away. Mm-hmm. So, and the reason that I say that is because just because you like her doesn't mean I need to like him, because I can see who this dude actually is. Mm-hmm. So you get a room full of dudes, and in my head, I know everybody that walked in. And I'm thinking to myself,
but they didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other at all.
You were the common thread.
That was it.
Yeah.
So they're all walking in, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why aren't you guys talking to each other? And why haven't you connected with him? You guys have so many similarities. And then it clicked. Nobody in here knows anybody. Yeah. And dudes just kind of like hang out until the time passes, and they're like, yeah, that was fun. And then we go on about our business. But the moment that we went around the room and introduced ourselves and said some things, at the end of that hour and a half or 2 hours, you saw men hugging each other. Mm. You saw men exchanging phone numbers and wanting to hang out and things like that. And for me, I was like, wow, it happened. Mm-hmm. It really happened, and it was better than I dreamt. And like, yeah, it's just, I got to keep doing it.
So you've had a couple now. You just had one last week. Mm-hmm. What's the size like now? What have we grown to?
Oh man, so last Thursday, the 23rd, I woke up. Again, 4:45, 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Birds aren't even out yet. Around 6 a.m., I start getting cancellations. Oh. And I'm like, oh. And I've gone as far as making a home cooked meal because I hated the fact that some people were missing meals with their family. And I wanted them to feel like this is family. So I started making these home cooked meals, and I wanted a head count so I can identify how much food I need to make. The 5th cancellation came in around 10 a.m. and I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm sick about it. So I come to the office, talking to Marnie, and I'm like, I've had 5 people cancel. And then right when I said that, 2 other people canceled. And I'm thinking to myself, like, should I call it? She said, nah, stick it out. That night, I had the biggest attendance out of any men's circle that we've had. And I'm thinking to myself, like, had I listened to that inner thought, all these men would be walking around without their brothers, without their friends, without their support system, their hype men, or just a safe space to talk. And I'm glad I didn't. And, the great people at Met Market were kind enough to extend and say, hey, when this gets bigger, we got a place for you. So
That's amazing.
it is. And it's really good that people are starting to see the value in it.
Yeah. I think it's very rare, number one, for men to be vulnerable enough to admit that they need that safe space. I mean, we all need it. Like, if we're not admitting it, we're lying to ourselves. But then to show up in a room full of strangers and then continue to show up. And I know exactly how that feels to be panicked about people showing up. When Claire and I hosted our 1-year podcast anniversary party, you put so much work into it. You're planning every detail down to the wire. And same thing, we had all these last minute cancels. And I was the one that was like, we should just call it. Like, clearly nobody's making this a priority. We should just call it.
Right.
And she's like, Linda, we're just doing this. Even if it's just the 2 of us, we'll be drinking a lot of wine, but we will be doing this.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And the same thing, we, like, all of a sudden, all these people that we didn't know were going to come showed up. And it played out exactly how it needed to play out. The people who needed to be there were there to hear our message. And that's one of the most beautiful things about building community, is that once you built it, it's that whole saying of, like, if you build it, they will come.
For sure.
Once you built it, you can't go back and be like, nah,
right,
I'm giving up on you.
Yep.
Like, you've created a community. And I think that when we do that, the ultimate goal is that it survives us,
Yeah.
right? So that even if you are removed from that equation, that group is still there.
Of course. And that's what's been important to me, is I built something, and I had a person tell me, the first meeting, he said, this is going to survive by you. It's going to be you. You have to drive this ship.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of responsibility. And it is a lot on my shoulders and a lot to think about. But I know the importance of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not willing to sacrifice or compromise it. So I'm headed out to Spain on the 16th until the 3rd.
I did not get an invite.
Next time.
Okay.
I got you. And it's devastating that I'm having to maneuver ways to make sure that these guys will have a safe space.
Yeah.
So obviously, I gotta have one before I leave.
Obviously.
Got to. Yeah, so just putting all that into perspective and making sure that this doesn't go anywhere, that it continues to grow. And the best thing that I heard after the first meeting, there were people in that room that didn't say a peep. And then the next morning I wake up and I got people calling, like, hey, or texting me, hey, do you got a second? I'm like, yeah. And these are people that didn't say a word the night before. I don't know if we should extend the group because, some of our friends, I don't know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that's super cool, man.
Yeah.
You're protective over this space. And you just don't want any old
Anybody
Joe Schmo.
coming in.
And that put a smile on my face.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for, meeting your own need, but seeing that the need is there for others and creating that. I can only imagine the magic that happens in that circle.
You should dress up as a guy.
I'm actually tempted to, because
Do it, you and Marty.
I want to be a fly on the wall in these conversations. No, but again, that's not a protected safe space, right? Like, that's the beauty of it, is that you are making this a safe space for authenticity. And that is one of the hardest things we as humans can do, is feel safe enough to be our authentic selves. So the fact that you've created a space that's growing and thriving is pretty special. We hope that our podcast is that space for people, and that our guests feel that when they're here with us, and that we just are so grateful to help spread the great work that you're doing, and it's amazing. So thank you. Now we get to do the fun stuff. The rapid fire questions.
Let's do it.
That you did not get. So, what's more exhilarating? Photographing animals in the wild or natural wonders of the world?
Animals in the wild.
There's some scary, some of the pictures you've taken, I'm actually terrified for how close you were to these animals.
It's terrifying.
Yes. And I'm sure Marnie's like, what the hell are we doing here? Though you in the snow, in the freezing cold, it probably brings a smile to my face thinking about what your reaction would be. Okay, cooking or cleaning?
Cooking every day of the week.
Okay, I like that. I'm probably on the cleaning side.
Linda can't cook.
I know.
She can't cook.
I can. I just don't like to. In front of the camera or behind the lens?
In front.
Okay. And here is the number one question: who is actually better at hooping, you or Smiley?
He stands no chance.
Okay.
And just to be,
I just needed to get that on here because there's a little rift between you two.
And I'll say it like this. Gerald, I love you, but if he grew 5 additional inches and had a different skill set, I would still be better than him. And it's not that he's not a good athlete. It's just Gerald, you can't beat me, man. Just stick to baseball. It's good for you. Stay in your lane, buddy. There's no traffic.
Oh my gosh. I think Marnie and I are going to have to put something together here, a little showcase to see who the ultimate
We both got old knees.
That's what I'm saying. You guys are retired.
Yeah, it's going to be bad.
Let's just see how this really plays out.
We should.
Yeah.
It's going to be censored. There's going to be a lot of cussing.
Yeah.
Hope this isn't family friendly.
No. Okay. Our quote for the episode, because we always end an episode with a quote. I actually don't know who wrote this because it said unknown, but I loved the quote, and it says, "Life is like a camera. Just focus on what's important and capture the good times. Develop from the negatives. And if things don't work out, just take another shot."
I actually do know who wrote that.
You do?
Me, yeah.
It's not you.
I know.
Okay.
But I don't know who wrote it. But that's awesome.
Yeah, I think
really
it's
good.
amazing. You can learn so much from photography. My stepdad actually built us a darkroom as a kid, and when we were kids growing up in our house, and we were taught how to develop negatives. And it was so fascinating to me as a kid that even if we did it wrong and it turned out fuzzy, we could try it again and leave it in the solution just a little bit longer. Right. And it was like magic watching it come to life. And so this quote really made me smile when I thought of my own childhood and just that idea of the beauty that we see when we take photography. It's all right there.
Right.
And it happens in front of us daily.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Always.
And thank you for being the most amazing production host. And we love you and Marnie, and we can't wait for continued seasons with you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you next time.